Hi, folks, and welcome to A Case of Distrust.
I'm really excited about this game because I've been wanting to solve a crime for the last week. I've said it very loudly to our family. I'm like, let's go solve a crime. And Gina's like, here's the next best thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best thing I could come up with. He's been very, basically, you've been looking for a noir game for a little while,
Yeah.
so I'm very excited about this game. I don't know very much about it, other than that it comes pretty highly recommended, and it's got some real nice noir vibes.
Yeah, but past that, we don't really know. So
Nope.
we're excited about it. Let's do it.
Let's jump into this.
Sweet. I awoke in my desk chair.
I think you have to click on the arrow.
On the haha. Across from me were his piercing amber eyes. They surprised me at first, but I should have known he'd be there. I stretched and said, mid-yawn, not very nice to sneak into a sleeping oh, you don't know. Okay, but his stare just continued.
I think she has to have this voice for the rest of the... That's her voice
I
now.
made a call, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I laughed at his glare. I cursed the open window.
I laughed at his glare.
Yeah.
I laughed at his glare. I'd seen San Francisco's shrewd thugs, hardened cops, and deadly politicians, but none could ever match that gaze. I knew I didn't have what he wanted. Ooh, cool!
That was very
Reaching
neat.
into my coat, I took out my knife and flicked it open.
I gave him the knife, or I held the knife steady. I
held the knife steady.
Yeah.
Yeah. I held the knife steady while staring back at him. Look, I said, nodding toward the desk. That's all there is. Take it or leave it. But a detective knows when she's beat, and I knew then. He wanted to search the place, and that's what he would do. I sighed, knowing my weakness for his type. All right, I said. Let's take a look. He let out a gleeful meow. Oh, thank you, Gina, for your contribution.
Absolutely.
I was wondering, I'm like, why aren't you speaking, other person? He let out a gleeful...
Because you've... Meow.
Thank you. In victory. I cut a piece of my apple that the cat had rejected. Always the sore winner, I jabbed. But I was smiling too, because I was telling the truth. There was absolutely no other food in my apartment. The cat often dropped by to scavenge. He made a lot of noise when he thought I was holding out on him. But right now, the place was clean empty. No food anywhere, and I had to prove it to him. Oh.
Click on some stuff, man.
I am. I'm trying to see all the clickable stuff. First, we'll start with the cat.
Yes.
The cat had waltzed into my apartment a few years earlier. He kept coming back, though there was rarely a morsel to eat. He'd continue his loud meowing until I proved to him that the place was empty of food. Let's talk. Okay, this love the
very
graphics.
cool. This is very neat.
It doesn't matter how doe-eyed you are, cutie pie. We've got no food around, I told him. Oh, he licked his chops and looked at me. Apparently, he still didn't believe that. I needed to contradict him somehow, to show him something in the apartment that would prove it was empty of food.
Go back. We don't have anything to contradict this cat
Man,
yet.
we don't have any evidence. Let's go back.
There you go.
I went back to the apartment to search for clues that I could show him.
All right.
Okay, this is a lamp.
Yep.
That lamp had belonged to my Uncle Louis. He'd been an SFPD officer, one who argued policewomen could be good detectives, even while the others jeered at me. I knew he'd been right, but my current workload didn't help that claim. I thought about Louis. I thought about Louis. I thought about Louis more often than I wanted. I was lousy at handling the emotions behind those thoughts. Interesting. Okay. This is very fun for me because I'm currently kind of writing a San Francisco 70s noir thing.
Yeah.
Which is very fun for me to have this right now. I had taken copies of old murder cases from the SFPD records when I'd left. I loved reading through them, even though my own contributions were minimal. At that time, I longed for those types of jobs. The truth was, any work was hard to find for a female detective. I wonder what year this is.
I don't know. Is that bird clickable? Yeah.
It is.
Let's click on that bird.
I kept a small statue underneath the side table. It had been police evidence in a crime, and its owner hadn't wanted it back. I took a shine to it, so I snagged it for myself on my way out of the department.
Yeah, I have no idea
what is that.
It kind of looks like maybe...
It's cigarettes.
Huh?
What are you talking about?
I'm trying to figure out what year this takes place, but we'll figure it out as we go. It's okay.
I bet there'll be something that tells us.
Yeah.
Packaged cigarettes were the latest trend, but I still preferred to roll my own. The ashtray was evidence that it was the practiced skill. I suppose I had a lot of free time back then, so packaged cigarettes are new.
Yeah.
Which that's telling.
Well, but then also look at the phone and the typewriter and all of
you're
that.
right.
So, yeah, we'll see.
A newspaper was flopped on the floor. Its headline about the death of Lenin, leader of the Red Menace sweeping Russia. It seemed the Bolsheviks had lost their head.
Okay, that makes that more...
When did he die?
I don't know the exact
I
year,
want to say
so...
the 40s,
considering you're reading a lot, keep going and I'll look that up.
I could be so wrong about the 40s. My old notebook, now filled to the brim. I wrote everything down, even the minor details. Never know what can be useful. First half had my old cases, the second half had my current. Let's look at my old ones first. The first half had my old cases. Details from the beats I used to walk in my policewoman days. Of course, policewomen were forbidden from going on patrol, but Lewis often overlooked that rule.
This is 1924?
24, so a little earlier. So, before World War II started? Lenin died? I thought he was around World War II, but...
This is Vladimir Lenin.
Am I thinking of a different Lenin?
Am I thinking... Did it say just generally Lenin?
Ooh, let's see.
Yeah, I think they're
Death
talking
of
about
Lenin,
Vladimir
leader
Lenin.
of the Red
Yeah.
Menace. Phone's not clickable. Let's go check the cabinet. The regular white icebox, tinged with yellow with age, had half blocked the kitchen doorway. My income rarely kept much stocked in it, and right now it was empty.
Can we use that as evidence? Yeah, let's talk to the cat now.
Let's see this. The door to the outside world. If I left now, though, the cat would start wailing so loud I'd get complaints from the neighbors. No, he needed convincing before I could leave. Okay, I'm hoping...
Yeah, icebox. The answer is icebox.
What happens on our notes?
Evidence. Click on evidence.
Evidence right here.
Okay, yeah, we just have
Icebox,
to present
sweet.
icebox.
Fantastic. Just trying to get the rules of the land.
No, this is a tutorial level.
Yeah.
The stakes are extremely low.
No, they're about as high as I've ever dealt with, Gina Smith. Okay.
Aww. He's so cute, though. Contradict. Evidence. Icebox.
The regular white icebox tinged yellow, and right now it was empty. Use contradict. Objection! I opened the icebox so that the cat could see inside. Empty, I told him. The cat looked quizzically at the open door, then back at me. Sorry, fella, there's no grub in there for me either.
We got an achievement for that.
Yes, we did. It was very special. He stared at me with eyes as disappointed as I felt. Those big yellows always got to my soul. Thoughts of my family filled my head.
My sister.
My sister, Muriel, had sent a letter with an update on her life in Chicago. She and her husband had just purchased a new home outside the bluster of the city. Their 3 young children were looking forward to the move. I'd never told Muriel, but those letters I mostly ignored.
Kept me going.
Kept me going. I'd never told Muriel, but those letters kept me going. Hearing about my family, however remote, helped me cope with the isolation I was feeling. I refused to accept it myself back then, but perhaps Muriel had known anyway. My sister had the ordinary lifestyle that I had rejected. I'd wanted to change the world.
Or to save myself.
I like change the world.
Yeah, let's go with that. I was just reading the options.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That was...
Yeah.
Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
I'd wanted to change the world. To bring justice for victims, especially the ones who no longer had a voice. Not that I was helping advance my cause with the types of cases coming my way. What kind of cases? My mind spiraled into the usual series of questions. Had I ever impacted the women's movement? Had I made any change on society at all? Was my plodding career worth losing traditional happiness? What was the point in the life I had chosen? A loud meow from the cat snapped my thoughts back.
Thank you for these voice acting opportunities.
Gina,
I really appreciate my
anytime.
contribution to
I'm
this.
glad I can give you these opportunities.
Yeah.
I took a deep breath and grinned back at him. Guess you can scram now, I said. Nobody's gonna come knocking with food for you, fella.
Ironically,
There immediately came a banging on the front door. Beyond a nuisance, this cat was psychic, too. You order out? I asked him. Oh, cool. In the doorway was the regrettably familiar face of Connor Green.
I stared at him. I looked past him. His company churned my stomach.
I stared at him?
Sure.
kind of neutral, but like still
Yeah.
antagonistic. I stared at him, a hired hand for whomever needed a job done. But Green snitched whenever he was put in a squeeze. Working the beats, I remembered that all too well. Remarkably, the underground had been blind to it, but Green wasn't particularly assiduous. I was certain the criminal rank would eventually plug him. He looked at me through the doorway with a coy smile.
Well, ain't you gonna let me inside?
I love that voice you
This is
chose.
what I'm going for.
I started closing the door.
Yeah.
I started closing the door, but he stuck out a foot to stop me.
Hey now.
He chided.
Foul way to treat a customer, Malone.
So that was his angle, hiring me as a detective. I wondered what a bootlegger would need with a private eye, but he answered without my prompt.
I'll make it quick. I can't take this to the hog house or the pigs would laugh me out. The other dicks just aren't that tempting.
His grin widened.
Thought this was gonna be quick. That was you.
I thought this was going to be quick, I said, and I started rolling a cigarette. Wow, I love how people used to speak.
Hog house and the pigs are gonna laugh me out.
What if I started speaking that way? I'd kind of like it.
I feel like you have to think like 20 steps ahead
It
though to
is.
get there.
It's like,
yeah,
because
like
it's, everything's a prolonged metaphor.
exactly.
It wasn't quick, and I'd already rolled and lighted a second smoke when Green finally finished his story. I noted the important bits in my book. Whoa. It started with a letter, slipped under his door in a white envelope. The envelope contained a single typewritten leaf, which he handed to me. It read,
End your game or we'll end you.
It had no signature, instead ending with only a small scribble in the bottom right corner that resembled a black hand. Green had a lead on the new rum-running scheme, a connection from Vancouver. He'd given a sample to Tiny Paul, the gangster
Tiny
who
Paul?
It's like Tiny Tim's, like, angry brother.
Tiny Paul, and he ran the 10-spoon speakeasy.
The gangster who ran the Tin Spoon Speakeasy from mob boss Jerry Ferry. They'd agreed to buy in for more. Green surmised the letter was about his rum running. He suspected Redstone Stable, another bootlegger, of sending the letter. He told me that Stable ran a barber shop during the day and gave me the address.
Yeah.
Green needed to know who the threat was from. He'd get Paul's gang to deal with them and continue his scheme to get rich.
If I go snooping myself,
He concluded.
folks see I'm not trusting people. No trust leads to no customers. I need to play it low-key, which is where you come in.
I raised an eyebrow and stared at him through the cigarette smoke. Something in his yarn was still twisted. He must have noticed my reticence because he said,
You know, I work closely with Lewis. I'm sure he'd want to protect me as much as any other victim.
My uncle.
Lewis had put me on the force. I'd finally accepted Lewis's death, and I'm still searching for answers.
I love it.
Yep.
Well, I'm still searching
Yep.
for answers, apparently. My apologies.
It's okay.
I was still searching for answers after his death. You seemed like someone still searching for answers. He'd been a man obsessed with helping victims and bringing justice to those beyond salvation. With that ethos, I never understood how he could have taken his own life. Those thoughts haunted me. I'd quit the SFPD and started my own practice, taking his philosophy. Was Green worth my time? Would he be worth Lewis's? Green had tipped off my uncle in a few cases. I wondered if that was enough to warrant my protection. Before I could think past my headache, he threw a bill in my lap.
Keep the C note as a retainer. And don't worry about getting in touch. I'll find you later for a chat.
He turned down the hallway and I let him go. If he was willing to give me $100 with no commitment, I wouldn't stop him. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, back then, that's probably equal to like 3,000 or 4,000, you know? No? Am I
I
wrong?
don't think it's quite that much, but it's a
Really?
lot.
Actually, I'm curious. Can you look up $100
Sure.
conversion in the 20s?
Yep, I sure can. You keep reading.
Okay, that is my job.
How much was...
Don't be loud about
Go for it.
I turned back to the apartment, still confused about the whole story. My headache wasn't helping either. Whenever I lacked clarity, a trip to Southern Coffee was usually the cure.
The answer is roughly $1,200.
Okay, I did upsize it, but still, that's a nice amount of money. Mm-hmm. I'd mounted a gold plate on the outside that read, P.C. Malone, Private Investigator. Leave. There was only one place I needed to go to clear my head.
Southern Coffee.
Southern Coffee was a basement dive. It wasn't modern, hip, or even busy, and it wasn't my favorite place to down some paint, especially in the company of the best bartender in the city.
It was.
And it was my favorite place. I was kind of wondering, I'm like, man, you're really
why did you
shitting
go
on
there?
Southern
Yeah.
Coffee, yeah. I hailed a driver, gave him the address, and stepped through the back door. I debated talking with the driver.
Talk, don't talk.
Let's talk.
Yeah, get info.
The driver began talking baseball.
You know,
He started.
I bet, my bet is that the Seals would play in the majors.
His voice had just had a high pitch and was
You
just
know, I
nasally.
bet the Seals would play in the majors.
That is irritating. Yeah, let's keep listening.
Between Shea, Geary, and McWeeny, we've got enough guys who know how to hurl the ball, and our middle order of Winter, Walsh, and Montague is unstoppable.
McWeeny.
McWeeny threw me. I was not on board for the rest of the thing after McWeeny.
Wow, McWeeny.
Sure, we'd need better fielding, but there's no reason we can't snag a glove from out east. Hell, we can even pay better than half those teams anyhow.
I'm still listening.
Of course, those owners say their teams would mop the floor with us, but they're just scared at the competitive coast. Only want the profits to stay on their cronies.
Tell me more,
With their
please.
cronies.
This is so good.
But imagine their faces when we beat them for their own in their own parks. What I'd give to see something like that. And you know, Art Griggs is rumored to be coming to the Angels. I just think it's unfair what we... Oh my god, I can't read from this angle, sorry.
There you go.
What we do to this league. Let them play with the big boys, I say.
Watching the big boys with the big boy toys.
Between Shea... Yeah, we've already read this.
Okay, alright,
Yeah.
do now.
It eventually... Yeah.
He droned about the Seals for what felt like an eternity. My eyes glazed over and I was nearly asleep when he finally shouted,
We're here!
Southern Coffee was an automat diner. Automat?
I guess so.
I guess so. Ethel Burgess, the lone waitress, was friendly to help with any inquiry. Of course, if you winked at her right, she'd show you the way to the downstairs toilet where Frankie played bathroom attendant.
Okay.
If you go, hey, touch, she goes, you gotta shit.
That was presented very strangely about the video game.
I know. Southern Coffee had the distinct feeling of home. The familiar smell of mold in that old basement was enough to put a grin on my face.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to search next time?
I think so.
Okay, awesome. I'm actually very excited about
This is
something
a
like
good
this.
time.
Yeah, I love noir shit, so this is exciting. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.